You can ask any Afghan why they think there's so many problems in Afghanistan, and they'll just point to the hills and they'll say Pakistan. Almost every Afghan here blames Pakistan for giving the insurgents a haven, resources, and sending them over the mountains into Afghanistan to cause problems. And what's interesting actually in the last 12 months or so is the academic community that follows Afghanistan, the Western experts, have largely started to agree with the Afghans. There have been a lot of people who have started to come out and say publicly that they think the ISI, Pakistan's intelligence service, is supporting the Taliban one way or another. The theory is, and it has three different parts, the first part of the theory is that Pakistan wants strategic depth. They want a kind of a compliant government here in Afghanistan in case there's ever a war with India, and so that have some breathing space. The other idea is that, again, in case of any kind of conflict with India, that Pakistan's military wants to be able to send suicide bombers into India, so they want some control over these militants. And the other reason why they want some control over the militants is because this is a very fluid area along the border. It's called the Durand Line, an old line that was drawn up by an Englishman to separate Afghanistan from Pakistan. Afghanistan has never recognized it as the real border, and this makes Pakistan very nervous, very uncomfortable, because Afghanistan is actually claiming huge parts of Pakistan for its own territory. And so one of the things we looked at when we were doing the survey was, what is your attitudes towards Pakistan? We wanted to know what an ordinary Talib thinks about this country that is supposedly funding and supporting the insurgency. And what we found is actually very surprising, because the average Talib hates Pakistan, or at least says he hates Pakistan. When we ask him, what do you think about Pervez Musharraf, the president of Pakistan, they hate him too. They have some awful, awful things to say about him. They use the strongest language that they can muster.
Pervez Musharraf څوک دی او څنګه سړی دی؟
پرویز مشرف خو اصلي کې د هندوستان مهاجر پاکستان کې اوسېږي. نو پاکستان کې د پاکستان بادشاهي کوي، نو دا خو یو پنجابی دی.
ښه، د افغانستان په باب د هغه نظر څه دی؟ تاسو لږ معلومات کړي چې هغه د افغانستان په باب ښه نظر لري یا بد نظر لري؟
د افغانستان په باب هغه چې موږ د کړنو ته ګورو ډېر غلط نظر لري.
مثلا کې مثال راکړه.
مثلا لکه دی اوس ډېر دغه مجاهدین زموږ مشرف په لاس ټینګ شوي دي، دغه په امر سره ټینګ شوي دي او بیا کفارو په جلو کې دي اوس ناست دي.
And then we asked them, well, what do you think about the Durand Line? Do you think that these big parts of Pakistan actually belong to Afghanistan? And they all said, yes, of course. Every single Talib we interviewed said that the lands past the Durand Line belong to Afghanistan.
خاطر پېښور د افغانستان کې د پاکستان
یا د افغانستان
نو خو ته د پاکستان لاندې کړی
نو افغانستان خو دغه پاکستان لاندې کړی دی. پاکستان خو سره د کوپر مرګلی.
And so what we're starting to see is a pattern of responses that suggests that, okay, if the Taliban are indeed creatures of Pakistan, that in fact they're not very obedient creatures of Pakistan. One of my friends has compared the Taliban to an attack dog on a leash that the Pakistanis are trying to use against Afghanistan, but that the dog has bitten its master. It's out of control. Another one of my Afghan friends used a different metaphor. He said, it's like burning down your neighbor's house, but then discovering that the fire has spread to your own house. We've seen a rise of militant leaders in Pakistan, guys like Baitullah Masood, who actually are focusing their attacks into Pakistan. And so there's this real sense that if the Pakistanis are behind the insurgency in Afghanistan, that at least part of it has gotten out of control.
Samur